such a good writer.
I'm such a goofball, but that's okay.
You're a goofball writer.
Yeah, I'm a goofball. Should I do Gems of Wisdom?
Yeah.
Reach out for help?
Well, just read the one you just read.
Okay. This is a legacy of Gems of Wisdom. This was our title that we were supposed to write a paper on. And I write it to anybody high school age. Okay. And so I'm happy to be with you to present some thoughts on legacies and their values. First thing I did was look up the word legacy in Webster. A legacy is money or property left to someone in a will or anything handed down as from an ancestor or family member. Can Gems of Wisdom be considered a valuable legacy when handed down from an ancestor? I take the positive approach, as I consider that wisdom and the skill of making wise decisions can be considered a legacy, and that they have a huge effect on the success and happiness of one's life. Looking back over 80 years, I realize that the experience can be a tough teacher. What could be gentler, but also as effective? Would a school course program have helped me? There just weren't any in my day, and now I understand that there's an assortment of so-called self-discovery workshops, courses, books, all available on the high school and college level. However, when I was your age, I considered myself quite bright and surely able to make good decisions, but was I? Some decisions are quick and almost automatic. Others are difficult ones, involving relationships, boyfriends, drinking, various activities, sex, drugs, sporting events, etc. The issues change somewhat through the years, but the decision-making concept stays the same. I had great friends in high school. A wonderful boyfriend who was popular, handsome, smart, my classmate, fun to be with, and he even had a car. We spent almost 3 years together in a happy relationship, except for one thing. He was always late for everything, and I liked to be either early or on time. Now that may sound picayune, but it bothered me. He claimed it's no big deal, so we evolved around that issue, but it always irked me. Later I went off to college and he planned to come up for activities, dances, etc. But again, he was always late. Then for the big spring dance, he was going to bring a date for my friend. He assured me that he would be early. My friend and I had both made special new formal dresses, and guess what? Yes, our dates arrived after 10:30 for the dance that had started at 8 and would end at 12. By that time, we were so disappointed, I really didn't care whether we went or not. And that was when I realized that I couldn't trust him. Regardless of how wonderful he was in every other way, there was one flaw, a big one. After thinking about the whole picture for several days, I wrote a Dear John letter to him, breaking our engagement. It really broke my heart, and his too, but I couldn't picture spending my life with someone I couldn't count on being there when I needed him. That was the most difficult decision I'd ever made. Was it the right one? Looking back, I realized that it certainly was wise, but it made me sad for a long time. However, I did finally recover. It was 3 years later, when I was well launched on my career, that I met an outstanding person on a blind date. I only wanted a casual friendship, but in some way, he was able to change my mind and the direction of my life. I recognized that he was a bit of a gem and different from any of the recent dates I'd experienced. He was handsome and bright, well-educated, had a good job, and I felt right away I could trust him, mainly because he didn't make any sexual passes at me. That was so refreshing. He told me later he wouldn't have dared. I always felt safe and happy with him, as he treated me as if I were a queen. We found that we had similar values and eventually became best friends and soulmates. We knew we could trust each other completely, a wonderful basis for marriage, or any relationship for that matter. We had a happy life together for 62 years and raised 5 wonderful kids and accomplished our dreams. And I was available only because of my difficult decision to break off my early relationship, which had made us both so sad. Decision-making can be so complicated and important. I recently asked a counselor friend about the availability of guides and courses on decision-making, and she recommended the STAR Guide as best for high school students. It's clear, concise, and everyone likes to be a star. So far, the evidence for using the STAR Guide for high school students is positive. The 4 letters, S for stop, T for think, A for act, and R for review, comprise the essential elements of this guide. As she said, the S, or stop, means don't jump to conclusions and make snap judgments. The T, or think, includes 3 important elements: emotional, your age, culture, and family, and last but not least, your financial level, such as cash or employment. The A, or the action, in the STAR Guide can be different in each situation, but it usually is the result of thinking. The last letter, the R, suggests review or to survey the results. Would I do differently another time? Well, looking back, I can see that this STAR Guide would have been helpful to me at many times in my life. I'm sure that some of my gems of wisdom came from my parents, teachers, and some from my grandparents. I find myself quoting them even now, 75 or more years later. Today I'm wearing my owl pin. Well, right now I'm not, but I have been, which makes me think of some gems from my grandmother. She taught high school for 40 years. She said this poem to me many times. A wise old owl sat in an oak. The more he heard, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't you be like that wise old bird? It still reminds me to listen rather than to talk so much. Our original question was, can gems of wisdom be as valuable as a legacy as an old-fashioned stash of money? I say yes, because although money can open many doors, it can also be here today and gone tomorrow, when not managed skillfully. People armed with gems of wisdom can find many doors to walk through, and they are already prepared with skills and a philosophy that will help them meet challenges. They also will make wise decisions which help pave the way to a happy and successful life for themselves and for their families. And so I say to you, good luck and God bless. This one, I'm not sure we want, well, I'll read this one. I don't know if you know this one. Practice appreciation and downplay fear. Today, I will confront all of the fears that crept into my psyche throughout the process of rehabilitation of my broken hip. I tried sitting in my lower lazy boy recliner that also rocks and discovered I had no problem whatsoever in getting out of it. I also tried the white rocking chairs on Main Street and again found they presented no difficulty or danger of falling. I followed the precautions of PT and OT therapists and stayed away from other rocking chairs, for my own safety. And now I wonder if this transplanted fear was necessary. Maybe I'm just stronger now. And here's a letter to my grandchildren on trust. Dear ones, Often I think back over my life of the lessons I've learned, and then I think of you as you moved along your lifespan, first as a baby and young child, and now as you are looking ahead to college, career planning, and of course marriage, and all of which are such important decisions. I realize that I bumbled along making choices, some wise, others absurd. How could I have made better choices along my life journey? Josiah, my grandson, reminded me that the reward is the journey itself, not the destination. That is so true. My life journey includes all the hills, the valleys, and detours. Has certainly been a great reward for me. Why did I make the choices and do the things I did? In high school, I think I was mainly concerned with the critical current issues, such as where would we go, and what would I wear, and then who else is going. But the issues changed with the years, and some growing wisdom and choices. A friend told me about a great decision-making guide. It has worked well for me. I'd love to share it with you and consider it pros and cons. And this is where I told about the STAR decision. We did that before. This is a paper that's a little repetitive of the other one. And I don't know if we want to include that or not. But this is all about the STAR model. They liked it. The high school kids liked this. They clapped. They cheered. They did really when I gave this paper. They liked it. Yeah. What do we got here? Is that, oh, here it is. This is a suitcase and supplies for an exotic destination. Shall I read that one?
I think so.
Okay, packing my suitcase for a cruise to an exotic destination, for sporting and formal events on board, and for a land trip through the jungle. There are many considerations in choosing items to pack in suitcases, plus a small carry-on satchel, if allowed, for information, meds, and reading supplies. Otherwise, all would go in the suitcase and carry-on purse. The following would be my guide, after careful consideration. Clothing: comfort, appropriate, attractive, color coordinated, and many layers. Consider weight and space in the suitcase. What are the restrictions by the airlines? Multi-use clothing, sports, activities, morning and night. Consider the wind, the heat, the cold, interchangeable colors, many things to consider. That's about your clothing. The care of the body, you want to remember articles for your hair, skin, nails, teeth, feet, eyes, ears, etc. Meaning sunscreen, lotion, dark glasses, first aid, meds. Some people like to take water. Extra supply of prescription meds and vitamins. Your equipment. I think probably the most important equipment is your camera and your binoculars. Reading materials and information. Well, of course, Clarence would take maps. He was such a map man. Maps, time schedules, and programs. Tickets and money, etc. in your purse. The choice of clothing. We usually wear sporty clothes to travel. Keep a sweatshirt and jacket available, not in the suitcase. Carry a satchel with meds, dark glasses, extra socks, undies, food, water, sunscreen, info, and maps. Other clothing that will fit into a medium-sized suitcase. I learned this in traveling a lot. The less I took, the better. Why should I lug around stuff I'm never going to use? So what Clarence said to me, which I thought was really wise, he said, well, you always think of you want to change your outfit every day, but you want to remember the only person who's going to see you every day is me. And I really don't care. You look fine in everything. So if you have an outfit and you just wash what you need, you could wear the outfit practically every day. It wouldn't matter because all the people are different. So I had to think about that. It's a little different than being at home. I plan the colors very carefully so the clothing is interchangeable to provide a variety. Then I decided I just include one printed silk poly shirt because I can wear that in many different outfits. I learned to roll many items to prevent wrinkles, wear less pay. And it works. I learned this from an airline stewardess who gave us a presentation. She had a tiny little weekend case. She said she could live a month out of that, with just the combinations. She says you pack your heavy items on the bottom over the wheels. The large items go next, and then you tuck small items, socks, undies, etc., in shoes or in the spaces. Pack nighties and toilet articles on top for easy and quick access. In planning to pack my suitcase, I would lay out 3 categories of clothes. Sporty clothes, some to travel in, interchangeable combinations, and one outfit for dinner that's sort of exotic. It's interesting, I don't think we ever used our exotic dinner outfits, but we always had it with us anyway. And then they talked about rubber-soled walking shoes, a cardigan sweater, just different layers, but you really don't need that much. It's good to have a hat with a visor. I listed a lot of things here which are a little bit specific to the person who's doing it. And we did black with rose, and rose with green, and green with black, and there were lots of ways of having a print with all those colors that we could just mix and match everything, which meant I didn't have to take much. I didn't. And it made it much easier. We went to Italy with John, and Clary and I took one carry-on bag and a satchel that I had in the plane. That's all we had was one, and it was plenty. It was plenty. It's all we needed. And again, we might have used our dresser. We did bring Jessup shirts. And I just brought pants, one skirt, which I never wore. And we got really down to very simple. So that was a big learning experience, and it really was about decision making. So I like that. I have a paper here you might like to read, because I wrote this about Doris Haddock, your godmother. Okay, shall I read one more?
Why don't I stop the camera, go to the bathroom, and I'll come back.
Okay.